ABC Family's groundbreaking original series, Switched at Birth, tells the story of two girls accidentally switched in the hospital, who unknowingly live out each other's lives. At 16, they find out the family they've always known isn't exactly theirs after all. The Peabody Award-winning drama is a critically acclaimed powerhouse, changing minds and touching hearts the world around, starring the multi-talented actress and activist Katie Leclerc as Daphne Vasquez. Katie began her career landing on the cult classic Veronica Mars and would go on to book starring roles on hits like The Hard Times of R.J. Berger, Community, and The Big Bang Theory before making her way onto the big screen. But it was in 2011, when Katie was cast as the star of Switched at Birth, that her star would shine the brightest. With gripping realism and a compelling depth to her complex character, Katie would express not only her acting passion, but also her struggle living with Meniere's disease. Katie is fluent in American Sign Language, and her buzzed-about deaf accent brought her hearing-impaired character to life for millions of fans and viewers. Katie has won the 2 Cents TV Award and was nominated for a whopping 2 Teen Choice Awards. I'm Jillian Leff, and this is AfterBuzz TV's Spotlight On with Katie Leclerc.
You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV.
Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Oh, thank you. You know, we're trying to highlight everything good about you. There's so many things, fans, that we had to chop down because this lady is wonderful sitting next to me. I first want to start out with Switched at Birth, obviously. You have brought the character of Daphne to life. So I kind of want to know about you as a non-deaf person dealing with this character from being cast and working with the show creators to sort of shape her as a person.
It was really exciting. So, from my understanding, they had a nationwide casting call for the role of Daphne Vasquez and also the role of Emmett Bledsoe. So myself and Sean Birdie were up against a nation of deaf actors, and it was great that they had YouTube videos, and the casting director sat down with hours and hours of YouTube. Kids who were like, I want to be this. And I found out about it through my agent. Just went in as a normal audition. Mm-hmm. I used American Sign Language in my first audition. And then they asked me if I could put on the accent for the callback. And so I nervously went in and I said, okay, I could try to do this. And before the screen test, I was able to sit down with my sister, who's also involved in the deaf community. And we mapped out Daphne's specific hearing loss on an audiogram. And based on that, what sound she would be able to say and what sound she wouldn't be able to say. So it's a really unique accent that is, tailored to Daphne specifically, and it was so much work.
I mean, I can't even believe, so you sort of lucked out because this is in the family.
Yeah. My sister's been involved with the deaf community for years and years and years, and when my high school said you have to have a foreign language to graduate, and I realized how terrible I was at Spanish, I said, I'll try that one. They don't have homework on paper.
Let's do this.
And yeah, exactly. And, I always tell high school students, make sure that you pay attention in your foreign language because you never know how it's going to come back.
Right. And look at that. It's been one of your top resume items.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So not only does your sister teach American Sign Language, but also there is something that sort of runs in your family that you suffer from as well. So can you talk about that disease a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have something called Meniere's disease. My sister does as well. It's a problem with fluid retention in the inner ear. There's 4 main symptoms. You get pressure in the ear, ringing in the ear, fluctuating hearing loss, and attacks of vertigo. There's something like 3.2 million Americans have Meniere's disease, and like 0.7 million Americans have it but have not been diagnosed. Wow. So it's one of those things that people say to me all the time, oh my God, I have ringing in my ear. Oh my God, I get head rushes all the time when I stand up. Oh my God. And then they start to kind of put it together and they go, maybe I should go get tested for this. So It's been a great avenue for me personally, for my career, for acting to have Daphne, but also it's been a great, sort of soapbox for me to be able to stand on and say hey, if you know, sometimes you don't feel so hot in your equilibrium, then go get yourself checked it.
I know, when I was doing the research, I found out that Kristen Chenoweth
Yes.
has it, which I mean, I'm a fan of hers, but I've never heard her talk about it.
No. Or Heather Locklear or Ryan Adams or, I mean, like, it's crazy the amount of people who have it and nobody talks about it. But I think I'm in a unique position because I, you know, have been associated with the deaf community for quite some time, for many, many, many years now. And, you know, without the Meniere's disease, yes, it can be a pain in the butt sometimes. And, you know, when the vertigo goes, especially, you're like, oh my God, you're cursing the world. But without it, I wouldn't be able to be Daphne. So.
You said in a few articles that you found the disease to be a blessing.
Yes.
So you think that without this, you couldn't relate to the character as well?
Yes. It's sort of within the deaf community, you have to have a hearing loss to portray a hearing loss. And it's one of those political things that it's just the way it goes. You know, if you're not a person with a hearing loss, then you're taking the role away from someone who does have that hearing loss. So that's sort of where they went with trying to find Daphne in the nationwide casting call. They said, you know, if you think you can do it and you are qualified to do it, then give it a shot.
See, that's amazing to me. And for you to sort of talk about how you developed the accent and all of that, how long did that take you to learn? Like, is it something that you just turn on and off? Because me watching it, it seems so natural, and I think that that's why a lot of the viewers sometimes think that you are actually hearing impaired.
Right.
Because you do such a great job. So that's an extreme compliment on your end, because you sort of do this seamlessly.
Yeah, at this point, you know, 3 years into it, it's like a light switch. Turn it on, turn it off. Developing it, though, was really complex, and mostly I made my family crazy. I will admit that there was a time in my career when I was at the very bottom of my, you know, bottom of my barrel. I had no money. I was eating top ramen every single day. I hadn't booked anything in months. I was, you know, just down and out. And I gave up. And I was like, I'm going back to Texas. I'm going to go hang out with my family for a while. I realized, you know, LA may suck, but San Antonio was way worse, and it was not where I was supposed to be. So I came back. But when I was in San Antonio and I had no friends at all, I signed up for a deaf club. And we met weekly at, like, a Starbucks. And we, like, it's one of those weird things where, like, life leads you serendipitously to this place that you never saw coming. So when I was in San Antonio, about a year before I booked Switched at Birth, I was hanging out with an only deaf crowd, basically. And I would go home and I had to master ASL because these were my new friends and these were my only options for friends. So I would go home and I would practice signing, and I would, you know, just by myself, and there's certain sounds that you make while you sign, like cha for the sign for big, and certain other things. And so I would practice these sounds, and that, I think, ultimately is what made the accent possible for me. Is months and months and months beforehand, I was relearning sign language, and I was practicing the accent without even realizing what I was doing. So
now, I've seen sort of mixed opinions for people about the accent. I think that overwhelmingly it's been a positive sort of feedback, but you know, how did you sort of deal with that? Was there any backlash? Because this is sort of something that, you know, is not done all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was really on my mind that I did not want to offend anyone. It was really my top priority to be authentic with the accent and try to not use it as a tool for anything other than to facilitate the character. It just added to who Daphne was, and we actually got to do an episode of Switched at Birth, which was the What If episode, where I spoke without an accent, and I love the reaction to that episode so much. People see it and they go, "What?"
Yeah, and really all they have to do is Google you and look at all the other interviews you've done, like, oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
She sounds like a Disney princess.
But on Twitter, people went nuts. They were like, oh my God, you fooled us all this time. And I really do see that as a compliment. Like, right now, my role is a deaf character, and someday it's not going to be. But right now, when people go, oh my God, I thought you were deaf, I go, thank you. I'm doing a great job.
Look at that. So I was telling you earlier that I am just about finished up with season 1, so I don't want any spoilers. But I did notice that your mother on the show, Constance Marie, she sort of seems like she is fluent. But did she already know sign language before she took on the role?
She did not. She did not already know it before.
See, I was shocked. I'm shocked. Like, so did you help her at all? Did she have this intense coaching that she had to work on, you know, day
Yes.
after day?
Yeah, tons and tons and tons of coaching. We have on set at all times, whenever there's sign language scenes, we have an ASL master. And then outside of those scenes, he goes to your house or you meet for lunch or whatever, and you learn your lines in sign language. And so Constance did that. She no longer signs on the show. Her character had an injury. And she did as well because she learned the language so intensely quickly.
Right.
So Vanessa does, and I mean, most of the characters do, but Vanessa, I have to say, if we go out, you know, in a really loud space or whatever, and my hearing drops out, she could interpret for me. She is so good. She's amazing.
She'll use it. So I know that if I ever bump into you guys at a bar in LA, you'll be signing from across the room, and I'll be like,
It's
I know
possible.
those girls.
Yeah, it's possible.
I know them from somewhere. It must be from that TV show. Oh yeah, that's
Where
great.
they also use sign language.
I love this. A lot of everyone remembers you from Veronica Mars. Your sort of first spot on this cult classic show. So can you tell me about when you sort of first booked on that and how you felt? Because before then it was a lot of commercials and
Yes.
and things like that, normal things that people get when they were first starting out.
So I was living in San Diego. That show shot in San Diego. I had gone in for Veronica Mars 5 times at that point. It was still the first season, but I had gone in for like
Right.
a co-star every single episode. And so that episode for that particular, you know, moment was by far my worst audition ever. I walked out and I was like, "Oh God, there's no way I'm getting that. That was terrible." And of course, that's the one you end up getting.
Right, obviously, because you're defeated already as you're walking out.
Yeah, and you're probably like hanging your head and saying sorry for your performance as you're leaving. But they're like, whatever, I've seen you 8 other times, so I guess you could do it. Which I love it so much. And ironically, the episode, not my part of the storyline, Tina Majorium's part of the storyline, she was switched at birth. She was switched at birth. What a weird coincidence.
I know, that was my next question. Did you ever meet anyone that was switched at birth before you started the role?
No, I hadn't.
So did the director tell you any, you know, feelings that you should have? I mean, obviously, in the first season, it was pretty clear, or at least where I'm at in the first season, that, you know, you were seen as this perfect being.
Right.
And then there was the troubled character that is your opposite.
Yes.
So what went into that? Like, how did you prep for the character besides the fact that Daphne is deaf?
Well, there was some sort of interesting, you know, more coincidences. The creator of the show said, we want Daphne to be sporty. What sport do you want to play? And I said, ooh, I played basketball when I was growing up. So we added basketball.
Amazing.
Now, this season, season 3, we switched to field hockey. I'm not good at field hockey.
See, I played field hockey in high school.
What?
I can
It's
teach
so
you
hard.
after the
It's
show.
so hard.
After the show. Broken fingers,
Much
many
respect.
bruises.
Oh my God. It's so hard. I love the shin guards, though. That's fun.
Yeah. You do look really cute in the skirt.
I know, right? You run around. Whatever.
Better than the basketball shorts. Okay, so you played basketball.
Yes, I played basketball. I don't know. There was sort of this, the first season especially, there's the question of nature versus nurture. So the big thing that everybody was talking about on set was, you know, what would you do if this happened? Like, what would your reaction be? And for me, oh, my mom is my mom. Nobody's taking my mom from me.
Right.
You know, mom is a verb, and my mother has been there, and she will continue to. So
Absolutely.
great, let's meet this new family, but nobody's taking me away from that one. So I don't know. I think that's a common response, though. Is, you know, I love my family, and I'd be happy to have more.
Right. I mean, it was convenient that you did move in, you know.
Yeah, you know, a little TV magic.
Obviously. Thought it was a nice moment. The polar opposite of the characters. I mean, I appreciated that you were a little bit more sporty, and your co-star was a little bit more artsy, and that sort of related to the mom. But I am, like, getting into it now. Like, I feel like everyone on Twitter has been talking about just getting sucked into the TV show. And I am just like, I am sucked in. Like, you have me. You have me by the neck. And I'm like, please, give me more episodes. I want more. I am a fan. I am converted.
Yay!
So I want to hear a little bit about your co-star, Miss Marley.
Miss Marley Matlin. I love Marley Matlin. The first time I met her, I grew up a big fan. So I'm like, hi. And I'm like, I forgot that I had to sign. So I'm like, hi, Marley. And my hand's shaking. She's looking at me like, who is this mess of a girl standing in front of me? But I think now, you know, we've moved past my awkward introduction.
Right.
3 years later, I love Marley.
I mean, she's sort of been a trailblazer, obviously, in her own right, in TV and film. I would consider you a trailblazer on TV. I would. Because there's really been no character that has sort of taken this, something that you are not affected by, and made it your own, and made it something that people can relate to. So do you feel like you're a trailblazer in a sense? I know that's weird to like to say and repeat and think to yourself. That's like
No,
that
totally.
in Mean Girls, like, oh, so you think you're really pretty.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I mean it. Like, I really do mean it. Do you ever feel that way?
I definitely am aware that we are in a show that makes a difference. Yes. We did a silent episode in season 2 where the whole episode was in ASL minus bookends of a couple lines here and there. When we went to set during those days, it was by far the hardest episode that we had ever done up until that point, and probably even still. But when we went to set on those days, there was a consciousness that every single person was like, oh yeah, this is significant. This is something. And that is a cool freaking feeling. That's amazing to go to work and not only be like, yeah, pinch me, I get to have my dream job, but oh my gosh, we make a difference. And, you know, my favorite piece on Twitter that I've ever seen came from a guy who said, thank you, Switched at Birth. Because of the show, I learned American Sign Language and now have a relationship with my deaf cousin. He was an adult. It's not like this is like a...
See?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can really open people's minds to this idea that, you know, the deaf culture is just like the hearing culture, and there really doesn't have to be a separation.
I think what I appreciated the most about your character and the show is that, I mean, everything is relatable. Like, you forget that your character is deaf, and I think that it means a lot to the actors around you and you yourself, and also just the only real difference is that you were switched at birth.
Right.
And that's a circumstance that really doesn't happen to everybody, but you're the same.
Right. Just the same. And it's not that we forget that Daphne is deaf. It's that it's not what the biggest part of her is. On Switched at Birth, it's not like poor pitiful deaf person. It is like, look at this woman who is, you know, striving between two men and can't make up her mind, or look at her who's talking to, you know, fight for her school and talking to the school board and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not look at this deaf person who's rising above. It's look at this teenager who's, you know, fighting the oppression from the adults or whatever it is, you know. We still have drama.
And I mean, as far as ABC Family as a network, I feel like they're making groundbreaking television. I mean, honestly,
Absolutely.
like with The Fosters and with your show, how do you feel about being a part of something that is honestly bigger?
Oh, it's rad. It's so rad. It is so cool. It's like I said, you wake up every morning, you go, pinch me, this is my dream job, and we get to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Besides that fan on Twitter, has there ever been a fan that you've met face to face that has said, you know, you've truly changed my life?
Oh, totally. Totally. And I hear that especially from people with Meniere's disease, you know, who say, like, I woke up every morning feeling crappy about my life. And you just have to stay positive. And I think that people see something on television that they can relate with. We had a Meniere's character as well on Switched at Birth. If you see something that you can relate with, you go, oh, I'm not so alone. You know, there's a lot of people who are fighting the same fight.
So you talk about remaining positive through everything, but how do you remain positive when you have to deal with something every day where you never know when it's going to flare up and bother you? Like, have there been moments where you've been on set and you just been miserable?
There was one moment on set where I was like, whew, this is the worst attack I've had in a year and a half, and I had to have it right out. That's awesome. But for the most part, you know, everybody's aware of what the problem is. And you keep yourself surrounded with people who are, you know, compassionate to that, and they go, okay, you want to hang out for a minute? Like, let's hang out on this park bench. Isn't this lake pretty? Can you believe how gorgeous the sun is coming through those, like, whatever it is, you know, right. Like, you take that moment in, and just because, you know, your head's spinning doesn't mean you're not grounded, and you stay grounded by observing what's around you and, you know, loving your life. And it's such a good life, it's hard not to love it.
Is there a specific co-star that especially calms your nerves? And everything. Just calms everything down.
You know, there was a moment on set where I was not like quite spinny, kill me, please. But just sort of like off balance. And so I remember sitting down just against this wall near craft services, and DW, who plays John Kenish, he came over and he goes, "Hey kid, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know." And so he sat down with me, and he had his like handful of pistachios, and he's cracking nuts, and just like nothing's going on. Like, yeah, okay, you're feeling crappy. Let's sit here and eat some nuts together. You know, it was just totally cool, totally mellow, and you know, there's nothing wrong.
When you started the show, did you ever think that it was going to be this big? Because we were talking before about how it was like 30, how many episodes the first season?
30 episodes. Yeah, 30 episodes.
Okay.
Or 32, I think, even. Oh my gosh. There's
32
so many
hour-long episodes. The first season, ladies and gentlemen. That's why the show is on season 3 right now.
Yes, and we'll finish season 3 with 72 total. So, like, so awesome.
You guys are almost at 100. That takes a long time. End of season 4, you'll be there. You'll be having cake and celebrating.
I know, I can't wait.
So I just saw you on Community.
Yes.
I was very excited when I turned on my TV, and I was like, I'm interviewing her next week. This is amazing. Abed's pseudo love interest. So how was it different being on set for Community and being on set for Switched at Birth?
Well, Community is great. It's always, you know, a little bit different when you're coming in as a guest star as opposed to like a series regular. So, you know, at Switched at Birth, you have your family and your inside jokes and whatever. On Community, you go into other people's family and inside jokes and you go, okay. And they were so welcoming and so kind, and everybody was fascinated with the sign language.
Right.
And so everybody's like, how do you say this nasty word? How do you say this curse word?
Of course.
Of course. That's the first thing everybody wants to know. So I got to sign to Jonathan Banks. I got to teach him really raunchy sign language, which was so awesome because, oh my gosh, it's Jonathan Banks.
So if I ever get the chance to interview him, I will ask him to do this.
Please, please. He knows mother effer. That's the one that's stuck. That's the one. I even told my mom, too. I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, I just taught him this sign. It was amazing. But something that was interesting, I have to say, Community versus Switched at Birth, just in the sign language, is Abed's character is emotionless. You know, he has a really hard time with emotions.
Right.
So it was fascinating, I thought, to see sign language on a character who doesn't use a whole lot of emotion. And they had to keep toning him down, you know, while we were shooting, like, less. And he's like, but it's the language. Like, I'm not actually saying anything because I don't have facial expression. So, you know, that it was fascinating just to see the difference and see how it was handled.
See, for me, I thought that you and Abed were one of my favorite parts of the episode, and there was no words. Like, there was very few words between you.
Right.
And I also loved the fact that, you know, Troy is now gone, so he is sort of searching.
He's like floundering, like, oh,
like,
I'll hold on to you.
I need to attach myself to someone. I was like, is this going to be a love interest? They're flirting.
Oh man, I wish it was more. I so wish it was.
Well, here's hoping.
I'm a money.
I'm pulling for you. I need to start a Twitter campaign.
I like it.
What was your character's name? Did you have a name?
No, Carol was Veronica Mars. Oh, what was it?
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
you were hysterical. So I know that you are a big activist. And I want to talk about sort of the anti-bullying that you're involved with and the Purple campaign.
Yes.
So for those of us who don't know what that is, can you explain?
So Purple is a VRS service, which is a video relay service. It's sort of like Skype on steroids.
Okay.
So it's how two deaf people call each other, basically. There's a camera set up in your living room, and the light flashes when the phone is ringing, and then you hit yes, and then your conversation starts, and it's, you know, two video screens. And it's really great. They're a great company, and I love working with them, and they do a lot of good things. And I also work with the Be Good to Each Other campaign to anti-bullying. It's the month of October, is anti-bullying month, and we design T-shirts, and you know, you wear your T-shirt around school and go, "Don't bully people." But it's really about staying positive, and I was bullied myself as a child, and it sucks.
Well, I want to talk about you as a child. Now that we've got the Switched at Birth madness taken care of, I want to know about your journey. So I know that you started out, I read somewhere that you were in a production of Annie, and you were Annie.
And my mom, on the way here, I just have to say this, my mom called me and she was like, Lucy Hale was in Annie. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Lucy Hale was in, I know, it's true.
I was an Annie. I was Annie.
What? What grade?
I was 5th grade.
Oh, very good. You're
What were you?
young. 7.
Okay.
And she was 8th. So,
Okay.
you know, getting around. Just the Annie love is everywhere.
I know.
So yeah, I was in Annie, and I got addicted to the lights and the stage and everything. That year was a terrible year in my school year. 3 girls really severely bullied me, and we got the school involved, and it didn't really go anywhere. So my family's solution was to move, you know, just to get away from it altogether. We moved to California, and that's when I started acting. So, you know, in a big picture sort of way, I'm thankful for that experience as well.
Right.
You grow from what doesn't kill you, and
Exactly.
you know, without it, I don't know if we would have gotten to California, and I don't know if I would have started acting in a real serious way. So Annie started it, but those girls and you know, the results of what they did and my family's graciousness to move led me to a great career.
I'm just leveling with her right now. I've been there, done that. Was there ever a defining moment for you that you were like, I need to be an actress. This is what I'm meant to be? Because I feel like a lot of people have that aha moment. Like, yeah, you do community theater and, you know,
Yeah.
you do all these things. But was there ever a moment where you were like, no, I'm pretty sure this is what I want?
Well, I had a great acting coach one time say to the entire class, you know, why are you here? And I was like, the craft, the love of the theatre.
The method.
The method. Oh, Stanislavski, and whatever. I don't even know. And he looked at them and he's like, you're all wrong. You're all lying to yourself. You're here because you thought you could make it.
Mm-hmm.
You're here in LA because you dreamt that you could make it happen for yourself. Otherwise, you would have stayed in Michigan and done community theater. Like, you're in Los Angeles because this is what you're supposed to do. So that was a big moment. But I think my biggest moment was when I came back from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I left when it was the worst part of my career altogether.
And at that point, you were doing what before you left?
I
Like,
was-
what were the things that you booked?
Oh, I really wasn't acting all that much. Like, you know, little tiny things here and there. I wasn't happy with my representation. I wasn't happy with my living situation. I just wasn't really happy.
Right.
And I had to go back, and, you know, family is therapeutic, and I love them for that. And they looked at me in the eye and they said, you are freaking crazy. Do not go back to California. And I looked at them and I said, I have to.
And now look how supportive they are.
I know, right? I know.
You showed them?
They're so happy. But I literally got to California with $12 in my bank account. It was like I had nothing. And I was like, no, this is it. And so, okay, so right before I got switched at birth, I knew this casting director who was casting Power Rangers. I was like, Power Rangers,
Let's
I'm all
do this.
over that. I'm going to learn martial arts because obviously I'm going to get it. And I'm going to get my passport because obviously I'm going to go live in New Zealand. And I'm going to go, and I did like, I don't know, I just did my life. I lived my life as if I was going to New Zealand to get Power Rangers. And because I really believed, I was like, I got this. Well,
Right.
I mean, nothing happens the way you think it's going
Right.
to. And I did not get Power Rangers, but the next audition was Switch at Birth. So I had lost 15 pounds because I was gonna be in Power Rangers, and I had gotten all my ducks in a row, and it wasn't for that job; it was for the next one. But I guess being prepared really pays off more in the end,
A meant to be situation.
right?
Before you started acting, what was the worst job that you had non-acting? I'm talking
my
like
gosh.
average
Oh,
job. Because I love those stories. I was a singing waitress.
Oh,
as long
yes!
as we're sharing, I'll tell you
I
I was
love
a
it.
singing ice cream toting waitress.
I love it.
But I loved that job. There wasn't really a job I hated, but was there ever a moment where you're like, why am I doing this?
All right, so shoot. I love this story so much. So my favorite job I ever had was I was a barista for 5 years at this mom and pop coffee shop, and I love it so much, and I'm still friends with people from there. My least favorite job was that I worked as the phone operator. I want to be specific.
Okay.
I answered telephones for a nightclub, and
What were the questions
and
that you were asked?
I work for ABC Family, so I just want to be clear about it. He hired me on as a nightclub receptionist, but they were actually strip clubs.
Gotcha.
And it was awesome. I worked there for 2 years, but they let me off whenever I had auditions. They paid me really well. I ran their
Hey.
Facebook and Twitter accounts and sat on social media all day. So it wasn't so bad.
No.
And
not
I was
at all.
in the corporate office, and it was totally sad. I just feel like I have to qualify a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was the best, worst job I ever had. Oh, it was so bad. It was so great. I loved it.
And what was the first acting job you ever booked?
A Pepsi commercial.
And what do you have to do in the commercial?
I was a trust fund bitch, and so
Okay.
I walked by and I went, and then I kept walking. It was great. I was on the commercial for like so short, like a snippet of amount of time, and I bought my first car with that commercial. Not so bad.
So bad.
Not so bad. Thank you,
Miss
Pepsi.
Katie. I appreciate that.
Right?
So I want to transition to a little bit of your personal life. You have a fiance.
I do.
Which is amazing. So I want to hear about how you guys met and when did you meet?
We met so long ago. We met in like 2009.
Amazing. So you're engaged now.
We are engaged. So we met in 2009, separated, didn't talk to each other, re-met. I was like puppy in love with this boy, and he was like, yeah, you're in California. You can come be an extra in my photo shoot. So I was like, okay, I'll be there. And while I was an extra in the photo shoot, I got paired up with this dude that I ended up talking with the entire time. I went back to Texas, and I was like, ooh, I really liked him. I should Facebook stalk him. Definitely, I should do that. So then I texted him that I was Facebook stalking him, and the rest is history.
Do you remember what your first date was?
Yeah. My first date was, so I met when I was living in Texas.
Right.
And I came back. Part of the reason was for this boy.
Right.
Like, the acting thing. Like,
And he's not in the industry, right?
He's not. He's a real estate agent.
Okay.
So we went to the beach, and it was Labor Day, and he had the day off. So we went to the beach, and we hung out, and then we went to La Salsa, and we got taquitos, and then we went to a bar afterward, and it was great. But it was like we spent the whole day together, and pretty much haven't been apart since.
So I know you're obsessed with cooking.
I am.
So what was like the first thing that you made for Brian? Because like I feel like that's sort of a defining moment. It's like, what are you going to put in front of him? Because the
It's
key
true.
to a man's heart is through his stomach.
It's through his stomach. It's true. And so my family has had restaurants since before I was born. Like, I grew up in restaurants and kitchens, so I can cook pretty well. But I can tell you the worst thing I ever put in front of him, I can't even say it. It's it's an Indian dish.
Okay.
Oh, somebody is going to tweet me the answer to how to say this properly. Paratha. I don't know.
Okay.
It's butchered. But it's something paratha, and it's like, it's a mash that's in a dough.
Okay.
And it's like a Crunchwrap Supreme. Like, it's, good
like
to
an
go.
Indian Crunchwrap Supreme.
Yes, and it's delicious. Paratha, something, Harabara Paratha, that is closer.
Okay.
Okay, so I put it in front of him, and he just started laughing, and he's like, "That's not the thing. That's not what we're gonna eat tonight. That's not food." But it was food, and he didn't eat it, and we didn't.
What's your favorite thing to make? Like, what's your specialty? Because I mean, what kind of restaurant did your parents own? Like,
Right now, they have a Chinese restaurant.
Ooh.
My Mormon parents have a Chinese restaurant in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
Yep, the book rights are coming out soon. So I would say Asian food is my favorite food. I make a mean stir fry. But like lasagna, I really like lasagna.
Okay.
I do like this shrimp from my mother-in-law, actually, this like avocado shrimp, Parmesan crust, like dip it. Oh, it's good. It's
You'll
yummy.
have to share that with me. So you were lucky in love. How did he propose?
He decorated the entire house with balloons and pictures of our relationship and flowers and like streamers everywhere and a big banner that said, "Will you marry me?" Got down on one knee. It was adorable.
And you melted.
I did.
Into a puddle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I would have done that.
It was perfect.
So are you in the process of wedding planning right now, or are you just kind of like, still in the work mode?
I have 3 days left before hiatus. And then
Power
I'm
through.
so wedding centraled. But right now, I'm not there.
Any idea where you're going to have it? Texas, California?
Definitely California. Probably like maybe Malibu, maybe Palm Springs. But we want to keep our day. So September 7th is our anniversary. So we'll probably do it on the 6th. And then it'll be adorable.
Have you said yes to a dress yet?
I have. Oh, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's
It'll
big.
look so pretty. I can't wait to see the picture.
I cannot wait.
Oh, I am so happy for you. Okay, wait. One more question before we go. If there's a takeaway message that you can give to people that watch this show, what would it be? One thing.
I think the big message is never be afraid to try. You have the support of your family and your loved ones, and you're going to succeed as long as you put every effort forward. And don't be defined by your limitations and never be afraid to try.
Great. That's great. Well, I want to thank Katie so much for being here today, and for Spotlight On, I'm Jillian Leff. Everyone have a good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.